Good afternoon. Well, thank you all for coming today as we officially rename the police facility as the Paul M. Walters Police Administrative Building. I think it's fitting that we come together today here in the department's community room, which, as you can see from the items displayed around it, has many items that document the positive achievements made by the men and women of this department over many decades. In a way, this room serves as the department's historical museum by showing the community and police employees the enduring legacy of service to the city of Santa Ana forged by past public servants. As one of the city's most accomplished public servants, Paul Walters has left an indelible footprint of committed service and dedication to Santa Ana. Before we continue, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Paul Walters and how his commitment to public safety has brought us all here today. Paul Walters graduated from Santiago High School in Garden Grove and attended Orange Coast College before enlisting in the Air Force during the Vietnam War. In the United States Air Force, he served as a non-commissioned officer and combat crew member of the 571st Strategic Missile Wing at David Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. He was also stationed at Kadena Air Force Base in Okinawa, Japan, where he was assigned to the 498th Tactical Nuclear Missile Squadron. In February 1971, shortly after his honorable discharge from the United States Air Force, Paul was hired as a police officer by the Santa Ana Police Department and appointed by Chief Edward J. Allen. Chief Walters later attended and graduated from the Orange County Sheriff's Department, Class 15. He rose through the ranks of the department from police officer to field training officer, detective to sergeant, and lieutenant, and after only 11 years was appointed one of the youngest captains in department history. For almost 7 years, he served as the commander of field operations and the administration bureaus until his appointment as chief of police for the city of Santa Ana in 1988. This appointment followed a competitive nationwide search process and assessment center. In 2009, then Chief Walters received the Department of Defense's highest award, the Employer Freedom Award. He was personally recognized by President Barack Obama in the Oval Office and Secretary of Defense Robert Gates for exceptional leadership, support, and personal devotion to supporting the National Guard and Reserve. Recognized as a national innovator and leader in policing, he later received the Leadership Award from FBI Director Louis Freeh. And this was for exceptional public service and leadership as well. Chief Walters has also been personally recognized by President William Clinton for community policing innovations, leadership, and accomplishments in lowering crime. In his 24 years tenure as chief of police, it made him one of the longest-serving police chiefs in modern history. Chief Walters is also a graduate of the respected Post-Executive Leadership Program, the California Command College. He also holds a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice from California State University, Fullerton, and a master's degree in Public Administration from the University of Southern California. Chief Walters has many national, state, and local awards for his leadership and innovations in policing. Some of these accomplishments include, in 2013, he received a board recognition for outstanding leadership and significant contribution as the executive board chairman of the Los Angeles High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, often called HIDTA, which covers Los Angeles County, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. He's also received recognition for his leadership as board chairman of the executive board of the Orange County Regional Narcotics Suppression Program for over 14 years, and his commitment and direction in its development into a nationally recognized program. In 2012, Paul was awarded the Orange County Bar Foundation's highest recognition, the Robert Barnes Award for loyalty and support of youth and family prevention programs. Further, he's been profiled in the California Police Chief magazine in an article entitled Behind the Badge, which highlighted his leadership and innovative community policing programs. He's also been recognized by the Orange County Gang Investigators Association for leadership and innovation in investigating violent gang crimes. Paul's wife, Mary, is a third-generation Japanese American whose father was a physician at St. Joseph's Hospital in Orange. Mary's family has lived in Santa Ana's Santiago Park neighborhood for over 50 years. Paul and Mary have over 20 family members who reside in Santa Ana. Most of them have lived in the city their entire lives. Here today is Paul's son, Michael, along with his wife, Cinnamon. Mike is an Orange County deputy sheriff, and his wife is a Superior Court reporter. And following in Chief Walters' footsteps, Mike has also earned his MPA from USC. Mary's daughter, Danny, couldn't be here today. She's a high school teacher, a high school science teacher in Honolulu, Hawaii. So as you can see from just this small amount of information that I've given to you in the last few minutes, Paul Walters has earned a reputation of dedicated service to this community. This tradition of service has been passed on to his son and will undoubtedly continue on with the dedicated men and women who now fill the ranks of the Santa Ana Police Department. I'd like to now invite to the podium Chief Carlos Rojas and Mayor Miguel Pulido.
Well, good afternoon. It's great to see such a great crowd for the special day for Paul Walters, and I know it must be emotional for you. As I look around the room, I really see the who's who in Santa Ana and Orange County. I see folks from LA HIDA board here. I see the Orange County Sheriff's Department well represented here. Councilman Benavides, I think, just walked in here as well. So before I make any more comments, I do want to turn it over to Mayor Pulido. And we do have a plaque on behalf of the city to present to Chief Walters.
You know, when I look at this building, look at this community, and look at what we're about to do here today, which is historic, to name this building after Paul Walters, I can't help but think so much how much he deserves this. Because I remember when he was out there as chief, just being so innovative, being so passionate, being so active and so involved. This is not only a man who studies and goes to universities and understands the theories. This is a man that can put things into practice. And he's able to work within the worlds of law enforcement and public policy and politics and activating a community. And when we were first dreaming about a jail, I remember when he came up with 72 temporary jail facility that we had here in the city. Because everybody said, city can't have a jail, can't do that. Well, Paul Walters didn't believe that. And we started that, and it worked well. And then when we looked at, well, how do we build this? How do we go out in the community and convince everybody that we're going to increase a utility users tax to raise $128 million so that we can do this? Paul Walters was at the forefront going, door to door out there with myself and Dave Riemann and others. And guess what? When it came before the city council, there was about 3 people testifying at that meeting. The whole community was behind what was being done. And when I look at, when I, came to the city and the situations that we had, there's about 35 cities in this country between 250,000 and 500,000 in population. And we were number 35. I remember Paul showing me a chart, FBI crime stats, we were at the bottom. And with the help of folks like, I know Councilmember Lutz is here, and I think Alberta Christie and Councilmember Benavides. This has been a long, long journey, but every year, and Paul, I know you remember this, we'd climb. We'd be like, not 35th, we'd be like 28th, we'd be, 23rd, we'd be in the teens. And as he retired from this position, we were at number 1. We actually had surpassed 34 cities across this country. So we're doing something right. And a lot of what was being done right, I believe, is this building, which he saw the need for. Vision, true vision, is to see what isn't there and create it. And he saw this building before it existed. He brought in the experts. He built it the way it should be built. He built it to last a long time. So now as we come back today and we say, is it appropriate to name him after him? Absolutely. There's nobody else that we can name this building after. Paul Walters deserves this honor. As I look at so many of the things that he's done, he came up with a 28-point plan. I remember a law that he helped us pass on overconcentration because we had an overconcentration of alcohol in the city. I remember when we were after people because there were times, I know Rita Corbin, you're here in the audience, East Side, nobody could go out there. There were gang members with machine guns shooting all night. It felt like Beirut in the middle of a war. And with Paul and the community and his abilities working together, we began to take the city back, and today there's very little gunfire. Rita got 2 Alpha Beta bags. Remember Alpha Beta many years ago? She came to a council meeting with 2 Alpha Beta bags full of spent cartridges that she collected in one weekend in one block. And I remember Dan Young telling me, well, Miguel, you're now going to be in charge of a committee to figure out what we do about this, and you're the chair. And if it wasn't for Paul saying, look, if I've got the political will, you guys are willing to vote for things, you're willing to support public safety, you're willing to make a difference, you're willing to turn the city around, you're willing to make a better future, it was a beautiful partnership. And a partnership that under his leadership and his abilities here for 40 years, we've been extremely blessed. And so as I look at Paul Walters and I see his impeccable integrity, I see his love for people, I see his ability to be a leader and to coalesce and to find compromise, and I see his ability to implement. Because sometimes between having a thought and making it reality, you just never get there. And he found ways to get there. And I think this building, more than anything, embodies that ability. Because of this building, we have not only the FBI, but the DEA, we have the special task forces, we have so many operations that cities come from around the world to look at this facility because of what it does. And it does it because of Paul's vision. So, Paul, it is just such an honor for me to be here with your family, to honor you on this very special day, and to tell you that, when I look at the wall, I see things like, Chief Lentz back in 1942, who was chief of police here in Santa Ana, and back in those days, apparently you had to run for chief because it says vote on April 10th. Paul didn't have to run for office, but if he did, he'd win every time, every single time. And my hat off to you. And I know as I look at this room and I look at a lot of folks that are not here, there's a lot of folks behind you. And for me, it's just been an honor and a pleasure to work with you all these years. And now in a few minutes, go next door and unveil that plaque that's going to have your name. And forever this building will bear your name. It's my honor to be able to do this. Thank you very much. You want him to come up now, or what? And Chief Rojas, if you can join me. This is a special plaque, not the one that's going to be in the building, but this one you're going to take home. But it says, presented to Chief of Police Paul M. Walters, in appreciation and gratitude for your 43 years of dedication and professional law enforcement service to the Santa Ana Police Department. February 13th, 1971 is when you began, and January 31st, 2014 is when you left. And I was wrong about one thing. I said 40 years, it's 43 years. And every one of those was wonderful, Paul, and we're blessed to have you. And now as I see Chief Rojas, I know he has big shoes to fill, but he worked with you for, I think, about 24 years. So, I think, your legacy will continue beyond the name here on this building and the plaque, but in the culture and the attitude and the ethics and the abilities and the talent and the technology and all the things that you brought to this fine department. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. I do have a couple of short stories. I couldn't miss the opportunity. And one of them's a small confession. As the mayor mentioned, this building was truly a showcase. I used to do a lot of tours through the jail, taking a lot of important people through here. I always promised them a first-class room if they decided they wanted to spend the night. But one of the things, when I first started touring this facility, people would comment about the quality. And of course, being a good police chief and being fast on my feet, they would ask about the granite and the stone. And I said, we never wanted this. It was really the mayor's idea.
I never knew that. And they bought it?
They bought it. I said, really, it makes sense, to have first-class quality, all the buildings, all the things that are going on in this town. It was really the city manager, but the mayor, I had to give the mayor credit, to all those different people that took the tours. But yeah, it's been great. I appreciate all your comments. Tremendously loved being the chief. I do want you to know when you go in the lobby and you see the beautiful thing that Chief Rojas put together, that the picture they used was just taken a couple of days ago. It's not. I'm kidding, of course. Thank you all so much for being here.
And before I turn it back over to Commander Revere, there are a couple comments I want to make to really bring it back on a personal level. As you look around this room, you see a lot of the men and women of the Santa Ana Police Department here. Over the last 24, 25 years, we've all worked for you. You're the only chief I've ever worked for. And without the opportunities afforded to me personally and to all these other folks in the room, we wouldn't be the great department that we are today. So I think everybody would agree with me, and we thank you for all those opportunities. I also want to comment on the Honor Guard. We have one of the members of our K-9 unit here. We have our police explorers here. One of the great things working under Chief Walters was the ability to go out and try new things, and if we made a mistake, it wasn't fatal for us. And we were able to try something else if it didn't work, take a couple steps back and keep going at it. And out of that, a lot of these specialized units were born out of that. And to this day, many of them still stand as being very successful, and there's others that we hope to bring back as the economic situation gets better. But truly, you built the foundation of what we are here today, and we look forward and moving forward and building upon the great successes that you had as a chief of police here at the Santa Ana Police Department. So with that, I say thank you, and I know we have other presentations, so I'll turn it back over to Commander Revere.
I know earlier I mentioned some council members. I think Claudia Alvarez, our Mayor Pro Tem, is here, so I want to acknowledge her because she not only is a Deputy DA, Paul, she was there for you for many years as well. Please.
This is what's great about having the mayor here is if there's a dignitary here that I don't recognize, he's always got my back and he can point him out. So thank you for assisting me. Now I'd like to bring up from Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez's office, District Director Gus Castellanos.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Chief. On behalf of Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez, she regrets not being able to be here today. She's in Washington, D.C., but it's an honor for me to represent her, and I have a couple of quick notes here. I want to just read a couple of paragraphs about what the Congresswoman thinks about you. Chief Walters amassed a brilliant record of achievement during his 43-year law enforcement career, including 25 years in command leadership roles. But it is his work in the city of Santa Ana that has impressed me the most, both as a resident and as a representative of the 46th Congressional District, where the city is centrally located. It is a vibrant, culturally diverse community, the county seat, and one of its largest cities with a population of approximately 351,000 residents. Chief Walters is a tireless innovator, using problem-oriented policing to help bring crime rates to record lows. His partnerships with local groups, including his outreach to the Latino community, helped to propel Santa Ana into the ranks of our country's safest cities with a population of over 100,000 residents. I have personally seen the public safety situation improve radically under Chief Walters' tenure. Santa Ana is a wonderful, safe city that we can all be proud of. She also wanted me to convey another note of thanks to your family, Chief. She wanted me to thank you for sharing him with us. I'm not sure if one can accomplish all of those amazing things without the love and support of a family behind you. So if you could just stand, I'd like the audience to acknowledge your family as well. And finally, Chief, I just have a quick presentation for you as well. We have a plaque. Chief, you're going to have a lot of these plaques. This one reads, Paul M. Walters, Police Administration Building, Santa Ana, California. I join with Congress and the people of Santa Ana in recognizing your outstanding law enforcement career, including public safety milestones, highly effective policing innovations, and the construction of the Police Administration Building bearing your name. Signed, Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez, May 29th, 2014.
Thank you very much.
She would have loved to have been here. She didn't allow her to do this. Good, let's take a picture. Let me get a good one.
Okay.
And now from Assemblyman Tom Daly's office, I'd like to welcome District Director Matthew Hicks, who's in the audience. I don't believe he's going to be speaking today, but I just wanted to acknowledge him. He's on my list. I'd also like to introduce at this time County Supervisor Janet Nguyen, who has some remarks to make.
You have to, if I can ask my colleague, Supervisor Todd Spitzer, please come and join me. There's a lot of plaques down here, so I'm going to try to find which one I'm... Chief, I have one for you and one that we can keep here at the building as well. Actually, before I say all the great things about you, I graduated from Garden Grove High School. That's not good. I just realized that. That's not a good thing. I mean, for those who don't know about Garden Grove, Santiago Pacifica High School and Garden Grove High School are rivalries. So I never knew that. Thank goodness I know that now after you retired. I want to thank you and for giving me the opportunity to be here. I know that we have our Chief Sentman from Probations here. We have Chief Hunter from District Attorney Rukakis' office, and also, as you can see, many of the deputies from Sheriff Sandy Hutchins are here. So we have the law enforcement of the County of Orange well represented here. But more importantly, I want to add to is that if you see around the room, Chief, you can know when a great leader is that not only will he or she brings out the people in their own profession, but he or she will bring out the people outside of that profession. You have here today community leaders, other departments. You have business leaders. You know, not many people can get Donnie here from BMW Caviar. So, I mean, that says a lot. So, you know, I want to thank you for your dedication, for your commitment to Santa Ana. My office has worked very closely with the communities. And I'll tell you, Chief, throughout the years that I've been here representing Santa Ana, the neighborhood trusts the police department, and that's because of your leadership. You are a hands-on individual. You take every neighborhood back. And so I thank you, because these residents, and I see it every day when I'm out there, without that leadership, 43 years, it's phenomenal. And so I thank you for what you've done. I thank you for your leadership. I thank you for your dedication, not just for your men and women that serves under you, but more importantly, for the families and especially the children who now has an opportunity to live in a safe neighborhood and has grown out of this neighborhood, but has become leaders as well. And so, you know, I also have to make the comment last, before I hand it over to my colleague, is you look a lot younger now that you're retired. I don't know what you were thinking. And you look a lot happier and much more tan. So, you know, I think you're actually doing a lot better now than you were. So I'm not sure what you meant by the other photo. So if I can ask you to come up, but I will, we'll leave this one to the side from the police department for the building. But Supervisor, would you like to say a few words?
You know, Paul, you and I have been friends for a long time. Mary, you have also been a huge supporter for a very, very long time. And Chief, I know why you got very emotional when you spoke. It's no secret to those of us who've grown up in the law enforcement community. You love being a cop. And I was a cop for 10 years, and a lot of people don't know that one of my first partners was your son, Gary. And Gary had my back in the streets of Los Angeles, and I tried to have his back. But the one thing about you, Paul, is you've had a lot of people's back in this community. And in this world that we work in law enforcement, things don't always go well. Things don't always go the way you want them to go. But you have to have people's back. And that's what's going to keep you not only alive in the streets, that's going to keep you alive in the long run in this business. Because people know they can trust you, they can take your word to the bank, and that everything you stand for is the only thing we have from the day we're born until the day we die, and that is our word, because we take nothing else with us. And so I just want to thank you and Mary from the bottom of my heart. You've been such a great friend, and every time I've ever called you on the phone, you've always said yes. There's a lot of people in this room I know that you have said yes to, and that has been huge for all of us who support you and wanted to be here today. The other thing I want to just observe is that the two prominent corners here in Santa Ana, now that bear the names in buildings of two huge law enforcement legends. One is Brad Gates, just across the street, Brad Gates. And now you join an incredibly elite group of individuals. In fact, there's only two of you, Paul Walters and Brad Gates, now adorn two very prominent corners in Orange County. And that is not something that is either taken lightly or the lack of significance of such a monumental thing. Brad served in this county for many, many years with great distinction, Paul, as you know, as our sheriff. And you have served with immense distinction, just like Brad Gates did. And it is beyond fitting that your names will forever adorn the two corners across the street from each other. I think that is a very, very significant moment here in Orange County history. So we love you, Paul. We love you, Mary. We love your family. And thank you very much for having our back. Thank you so much. Oh, Janet's got her photographer.
It'll be on Facebook. Arguments, yes.
Just a quick story. The reason there's such a rivalry was before the football games, we would go over and paint the statue of their Argonaut in front of the high school. So after a while, they learned that we were going to paint it, so they started covering it up. So there was really a rivalry.
It was.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to welcome two distinguished members of our local business community, the aforementioned Don Crevier and Robert Escalante.
Peter Keller's around here someplace. I have to get my chance. How do you wind up following up with such a great, oh, hey, Paul. Hey, How do you wind up following up after all these years? I'll do a little bit and then you guys, because you know what? I did my homework. And I want to say, Paul, I'm honored to be standing here before you to present this Excellent of Service Award, as there are only 2 of this kind in captivity. There'll be one here and one for you to take home. But first and foremost, the entire business community of the city of Santa Ana would like to say thank you. Thank you for always being there. Thank you for your leadership and your leadership skills. Thank you for protecting our investments. There was a day not long ago where this city tested all your skills, and you were there. You didn't panic. You performed. You kept this city safe. You kept this city secure. There are no words to properly describe what you mean to this city. And I'm not talking about just us. I'm talking about the whole city. We have banded together as a whole business community. These guys will say something, but we're a part of a larger group. So I've spent my 2.5 minutes. Donnie, how did Johnny Carson do it? It's your turn.
Thank you, Robert. Paul, a lot of neat things have been said, and I don't think any of us could disagree with any of them. They're phenomenal. You're a rare guy, rare family, and a wonderful team here joining you today. It's an extreme honor for me as a small business guy here in the community to be here today to congratulate you for this wonderful recognition. But I sincerely congratulate you and appreciate the opportunity. Wish all the luck in the world to you and your family for all the new things ahead for all of you. Take care.
I'll make it short. I will echo all the fine words that have been expressed here today, Paul. But I want to tell you one thing. I'm a little older than you, and I appreciate you taking my name. I am Paul Musco. Congratulations.
Now, without further ado, I'd like to present you the only 2 in captivity. This is one. The mate to this will hang in the community center for all to know. And it is, if I may, I will read to you what it says. It is the Excellence of Service Award. In appreciation for your years of service and devotion to the people of Santa Ana, your accomplishments as a leader, as an innovator, have set an example for others. Thank you for helping us feel safe within the city we all call our own. And we all call our own it because we got to sleep at night because of Paul Walters. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Paul.
It's on order. It's on order.
Chief, I have to apologize. If I knew you'd had this many parting gifts, I would have brought a shopping cart or something for you to walk away with. So, yeah, but I promise you we'll help you on the way out. Lastly, a little while ago, I was informed that we have a former council member here among us. Alberta Christie is here, and I was advised that you'd like to come up and make a few more remarks. So I'd like to welcome former Councilwoman Alberta Christie.
I brought it to the attention that, you know, after 9/11, there was Homeland Security, and they were looking at cities that they could trust to administer the funds on a regional nature. So I was sent back to Washington, D.C., speaking to my friends, Chris Cox and many others, that were on Homeland Security in order to get funds from Los Angeles, $18 million, to Santa Ana, based on Paul Walters' reputation across the nation. What I didn't know was on that committee, when we would go as city council members to the National League of Cities, there were councilmen and mayors talking about they had a drug problem or didn't know how to do gang problems and so forth. And I said, my chief would love you. Okay. I would call Paul, and immediately he would have Captain Carlson contact them, and we would take our shelf programs of how to do community organization, policing, and how to handle gangs, drug problems there. On the committee were the congressmen for each of the cities that Paul helped fight the war on drugs, gangs, and crime. And based on that, and they knew his reputation, we got the $18 million away from Los Angeles. So thanks to Paul, you now had those Homeland Security funds based on this man. Thank you so much.
So with that, concluding the initial part of the ceremony, I would like to invite everyone to join Chief Walters and Mary, if you would, up in the front lobby. We'll let you go first, where we'll actually unveil the plaque that commemorates the building. And I invite everyone to come along with us and Chief Rojas as we witness as it occurs. You're more than welcome to come back after we do that, back to the room here. We have refreshments and cookies here for you all to enjoy, and feel free to socialize if you will. Thank you.
Once again, thank you very much for coming out to honor Chief Paul Walters. And so now we would like to unveil the plaque dedicating the Santa Ana Police Building as a Paul M. Walters Police Administration Building. Paul, Mary?
It's stuck.
Mary, you got it.
I have fingernails.
So it says Paul M. Walters Police Administrative Building, dedicated in recognition and appreciation of Paul M. Walters' 42 years of honorable service to the City of Santa Ana and the Santa Ana Police Department. Chief Walters' stewardship of the department was instrumental in solidifying the enduring reputation of the Santa Ana Police Department as a leader in community-oriented policing.